Hello, it's been ages since I did one of these, but it's time for another random page from a random book. This was something I started a little while back, probably three months ago, when lockdown started. I thought it would be a nice idea to do some very short book reviews of some books that I like, some written by authors who've been supportive of me and my own work, and we're going to do that in the style of random page from a random book at a time, rather than a big chunky book review that can drag on and on forever, and I'm not really competent enough to do a video for anyway. So today's book, by the way, I'm doing this in my garage because after 1,000 years of lockdown I've discovered that there is absolutely nowhere in the house that I can be left truly alone. So I'm seeing if the garage is one of them, or the one I have failed to discover. We will see. But anyway, the book I've picked at random today off the shelf is by a very good friend of mine, a chap called Simon Michael, and this is Corrupted, and this is, I think, book 4. Yes, book 4 in Simon Charles Holborne series. Now, I should point out straight away, you, if you're interested, will not be able to get a particular copy of this edition. This was by Simon's previous publisher at Bain, and I believe he's moved on now, and you will be able to get a re-released version of this, but if you wanted a particular one of these, you're very unlikely to get one these days. Now, the Charles Holborne series is about a trial lawyer in the 60s, very Cray era, gangster, London crime noir, really. Fantastic series, very interesting. By the time we got up to book 4, I think, if I remember rightly, I think Simon was planning 6 books in the series, so the character is well established. He's moved along brilliantly, and we come to him in the peak of his career, really. To give you a bit of a blurb from this one, as I said, it will be a different edition when you wanted to pick one up for yourself, but the basic facts are the same. Corrupted is Simon Michael's follow-up to the best-selling The Lighterman. Charles is building his reputation as a brilliant murder trial lawyer and living the good life with partner Sally, but he can't escape the influences and dangers of the past and finds himself drawn once more into the orbit of the notorious Cray twins. It's not long before Charles is courting scandal and threats to his very life, when investigating a sex ring that involves not just the Crays and the Mafia, but goes to the very echelons of the country's power. Simon Michael brings the past back to life across a beautifully rendered swinging 60s landscape and delivers a gripping piece of crime fiction that will excite any fan of the genre. I have to say, I agree completely with that. It's fantastic. One of the things I like about Simon's books is you can imagine so much of it actually happening for real, and an awful lot of it is based around events that were either insinuated to have happened or did actually happen. And this one's no different. It involved the story, as I recall, it involves some of the scandal or suggested scandal of Lord Boothby at the time, which would have come just after Profumo. If I remember rightly, I used to be very up to speed with my history, and I'm afraid it's slacking as I get older. But there's a lot of suggestive work in there. But given Simon's background in trial as a trial lawyer himself, with a good legal background, he knows what he's talking about. The trial scenes themselves, in most of Simon's books, I'd say all of them actually, whereas sometimes in other stories that I've read, not Simon's, other stories I've read, trial scenes can lag a little, unless you are invested particularly in the legal niceties, can feel a little bit false or a little bit boring, and it's absolutely not the case in the way Simon Michael writes his trial sequences. But anyway, the point of Random Page from a Random Book is I will flick to a page completely at random and I will read it to you with probably an awful lot of slip-ups and mispronunciations and stuttering, A, because I don't like making videos of myself, I don't know why I'm doing this, and B, because that's the point of Random Page from a Random Book. We read it as we would read it ourselves anyway, so just to see, no little hidden corners anywhere. I'm going to do it at random. Let's try there. Okay, we were going to start at page 223, which is actually the beginning of chapter 12. So chapter 12 is entitled Thursday, 9th of July 1964, subtitled 22:33 hours. Percy Farrow enters the Daily Mirror newsroom. His office is in the linked building formerly the offices of the Sunday Pictorial. but the editor of the Mirror is to be found on the 5th floor of this building. Pharaoh's visit is by way of reconnaissance. The phones dotted around the banks of desks are, as usual, quieter at this time of night, yet the incessant clatter of typewriter keys persists. Most of the desks are still occupied by men in suits, a handful with their jackets off. 2 in shirt sleeves still wear their hats. All are bent over their typewriters, and most have cigarettes clamped in their mouths or burning in ashtrays. There's an air of intense concentration and no conversation. As always, scattered over the tops of the metal desks and filing cabinets are plates of half-eaten, congealed food and abandoned cups of tea, many with cigarette ends floating in them. The floor surface is pitted with the black melted evidence of stubbed-out cigarettes and littered with sheets of copy paper and newspaper. One of the junior female sub-editors in cardigan and sensible shoes delivers cups of tea from a tray to 2 of her colleagues, neither of whom looks up or acknowledges her presence. There we go. So that was page 223 of Corrupted, the 4th book in the Charles Holborne series by Simon Michael. As I said, brilliant stuff. I think actually this might be the book that opened me up to the world of something Simon called a salted beef bagel. He has a very descriptive passage in there. I'm sure it's this book where Charles goes late at night somewhere in London and gets an enormous bagel full of all sorts of things. And for some reason that stuck to me, probably because of the size I am. I thought, well, that sounds good. So next time, Simon, that we're in London together at a bookie thing or anything like that, yeah, you are going to take me for one of these bagels. But I hope you enjoyed Corrupted. It's available, as I said, along with, I think, 5 of the Charles Holborne series have been published now, with a 6th on the way. If you go to Simon's website, Google him, very well respected chap, fantastic author. You won't be sorry. I hope you enjoyed that one. And I will try not to leave it 3 months before I do the next one. Cheers all. Bye-bye.